What does that mean to you, Black History Month?
It means that that's racism because they don't celebrate White History Month. We don't have it. I'm part Italian. I don't have Italian History Month. So what I think it's doing is perpetuating what this divide is in our nation, quite honestly, because I don't feel like that should be highlighted. I don't think that they should be pushing their agenda on myself because I'm a straight male, I have a wife, and I have children. I don't think that I should have to be bombarded and brainwashed through media, through those months or Pride, Black History. I don't think that's something that should be, dictated to me.
Is it a learning opportunity?
Not at all, because when I was in school, we learned, certain Black leaders, things like that. I don't need to hear it every single year for a whole month.
Coincidence, call it whatever you want. Annabelle, one of the most haunted and demonic things on this planet, is on tour. And it was just in New Orleans, Louisiana. And you won't believe what happened. That, my friends, was the Nottoway Plantation. And it was one of the largest remaining antebellum plantation homes in the U.S. And it's located in Louisiana. And it happened on the 15th, which was the day after Annabelle left. Now, the fire is believed to have started in the attic area of the mansion's central section. Weird. And no injuries are reported, and the cause of the fire remains under investigation by local fire officials. You have to understand something about this doll. It's evil. Now, if you want to know the power of this doll, listen to this story. Ed Warren and his wife, who were paranormal investigators, actually bring this doll back to their home. And at one point, a young priest came over and picked Annabelle up, told her that it was just a doll that couldn't do anything, and tossed it back in the chair. Now, on his way home, his brakes failed at a busy intersection, and he was in a terrible collision that was near fatal and totaled the car. That's the power of this doll. Now, the reason why they call this doll Annabelle is because one of the first mediums to touch this thing said that it was possessed by a young girl named Annabelle. But they later found out that it was possessed by a very, very powerful demonic entity. So why they're touring this thing, I have no clue. But I find it very interesting that one of the most historical spots in Louisiana burned to the ground. Usually these places are protected, so that doesn't happen. But the attic, and they still don't know the cause? There's your cause. Whether you believe it or not, I think this thing's more powerful than people think. Oh, and terrifying.
I used to be a tour guide at Nottoway Plantation. Nottoway was not talking about history properly. They regularly threatened my job because I was, quote, too emotional about the historical context and slavery there. I was there from 2017 till 2020 when COVID hit. The amount of ridiculous nonsense that I had to talk about on that tour was overwhelming. Dutch people, when they came in, because there were thousands of people from all around the world that would come in, the Dutch people knew more about the history of the transatlantic slave trade than the majority of people that worked at the plantation. I'm glad it burned down. Make no mistake. The type of history that they were teaching there was a bunch of just headline stuff. It was a bunch of buzzword stuff. I mean, honestly. I'm in Facebook groups and looking at people's posts about it being burned down, and the only thing they're talking about is, this architecture. Oh, did you know that they would hide jewelry in the bedpost? Oh, did you know that these curtains were reproductions of the ones from Gone with the Wind? And the way that the script for the tour was written was framing John Randolph as
things like a genocide. There's no genocide in South Africa. Things like mass expropriation without compensation. It's not a single farm that's been expropriated without compensation in South Africa. Yes, we have some issues with crime and criminality, but these affect all of our citizens in the same way.
Do you believe the US president is deliberately lying about South Africa?
We don't know where he gets this information from and who informs him. What we just see as farmers in South Africa is we don't see a confiscation of land. We don't see large-scale land grabs in South Africa. What we see is at this stage still very reasonable, as is any country in the world.
People are talking about moving to the US. What's the thinking about
moving
that?
What?
To the USA. People are saying that, well, there's genocide in South Africa. What do you feel about that? You look very happy here.
Yeah, I'm very happy here. What do you mean? How's genocide Zeker op een klein schaal, bro, maar ja. Ja, have a good day.
Further your false narrative, because we're not saying we don't have an issue with violent crime in South Africa. We are saying it is not a genocide against white people.
Right, good morning guys. I just want to get something off my chest. You saw this 49 Afrikaners that arrived in the USA as refugees. To me, what you're doing, it's like you are cowards. You are running away from your heritage, from your home country. Let me tell you one thing, me, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here.
Cian McGrath. Say his name, share his name. Cian McGrath, unalived Ryan Hinton. Cian McGrath.
Black people, you're lucky we don't have the same mentality of you.
Okay, couple questions. First and foremost, who is we? Because I looked at your page and you're white passing. Putting down other people who aren't white aren't going to make the white people that you want to support you.
You're lucky we don't have the same mentality of you. Otherwise, y'all'd be gone.
What do you mean gone? And what is the mentality? Who did black people disappear that you're equating this to?
Black privilege is getting worse by the year. And by worse, I mean they're getting more bold with their schemes and their actions.
One specific thing that people who make videos like this do is they make something so vague that you can't put a descriptor on it. Black people are scheming and they're getting bold. What does that mean? And since this guy's a white savior for some reason, do we not know about all the white schemes and the white boldness? The head white right now is not listening to the checks and balances system that was put in place, but I don't hear you about that boldness or scheme. I can tell by your face that you're paid to work with your hands instead of your brain. Does that make sense to you?
Why are some of y'all supporting this guy, but you're not supporting this guy? They did the same thing.
Of sponsoring a family that is fleeing South Africa due to the white genocide. I am not going to let a white group of people suffer and not help them because I've been bullied into not giving a shit. That ain't me. Wrong dude. Don't care. These people want to be Americans. They don't want to be South Africans anymore because that country was given over the minute that fucking cocksucking communist Mandela was let out of prison. They're going to live in my house and I'm going to fucking feed them and take care of them.
Suffice to say that I got involved in the abuse of the minority white race in South Africa a couple of years ago, got heavily involved, ultimately ended up sponsoring a family of 4 and helped facilitate them from Africa. And obviously it turned out bad. They did play me, and they admit, in fact, that was one of the things they said was they're bragging about how they played me like a sport game. I spent over $30,000 in that 11 months in money and fed and clothed them. So I might be stupid enough to have fallen for that because I thought with my heart instead of my head. You know what? They cost me a lot of money when they were here, suck and parasite and use people, and then when they're done, they just fucking, go on to the next fucking victim. When they talk to me, it's like, hey, we're a good family, we own a business, and we're hardworking people, and, when we get to America, the way we'll pay the rent will be we'll work for you guys, all right? If anything, we had to work 10 times as hard just to fucking take care of these people. I mean, in 11 months, I got my grass cut 3 times. One time ended up being in a huge argument. Everything fucking free. Lay around, watch TV, and watch fucking movies for 11 months and fucking chain smoke cigarettes and don't do a guy.
I'm in the process of...
This is for the Americans. If you're not an American, feel free to watch, but please try and get it to the Americans. My name is Bianca van Wyk, born in South Africa, live in South Africa. Today you will be welcoming the so-called white Afrikaans refugees. They are there based on an offer made to them, which I must say was informed by disinformation about South Africa. Now, I've seen a lot of takes on who Americans think they are receiving. Okay, you are not getting successful, professional, white, middle class South Africans that are fleeing South Africa. The people you are getting are the people that believe that there is discrimination against them based on their race. Keep in mind, we live in the most unequal country in the world. We have, for instance, 70% of agricultural land and agricultural holdings are owned by white South Africans. 62 to 68% of top leadership positions in corporate are filled by white males. There is a huge salary disparity between white South Africans and the rest of the population. And there are a number of other indicators which shows you that this story of discrimination based on race is false. Another thing that I wanted to say is that you will get certain so-called refugees that have experienced crime. However, in South Africa, no one is exempt. These people that you are welcoming assume because they're white, they should not experience crime. The people most affected by crime in South Africa happen to be black people that live in poverty. So as you open your doors and welcome people, and you're going to get a lot of information and disinformation from these people, please do keep that in mind. Oh, I also would like to say all the best and good luck to the Americans.
I don't know if anyone's going to watch this. I don't know if it'll get 1 view, 10 views, 1 million views. But I just felt like I had to do something. I'm a veteran. I served in the Air Force. I took an oath to defend the Constitution of this country. And in that oath, that's the very first part. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. After that, I swear that I would accept the orders of the President as Commander-in-Chief and also of the officers appointed above me. But there's also a fourth part to that, and it's what I call the bookends to the oath. The first one, to the Constitution. And the last one, the fourth part, it mentions the UCMJ. And to those of us that are familiar with it, to the veterans and to the active duty members, that stands for the Unified Code of Military Justice. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. And there's a part in the UCMJ that gives every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Coast Guardsman, and now Space Force the duty to not obey an illegal order. I'm asking my fellow veterans to stand with the Constitution. And I'm asking all of our active duty brothers and sisters, remember your oath. We are not your enemy. We depend on you to protect us. And I give you my word. I will stand beside you if you fight for us. Please, remember your oath.
White people will be like, I've experienced racism too. Someone called me a cracker the other day on TikTok. Like that's somehow relatable to over 400 years of systemic oppression. Listen, Cheryl, you are a cracker, and you getting your feelings hurt on TikTok is nowhere near the generational trauma that black people have endured. Hope that helps.
So this is Adriana Smith. She started getting bad headaches, and she knew that something was wrong, in part because she's a registered nurse, that these weren't like normal headaches, so she went to the hospital. Hospital ran a bunch of tests, although they did not run a CAT scan. And then they sent her home, despite her and her fiance saying, like, I think you should keep her, I think something's wrong. And the next morning, her fiance found her struggling to breathe and gurgling. Went back to the hospital where they did finally run a CAT scan and found that she had blood clots in her brain. And at that point, there was nothing they could do about it, and they declared her brain dead. That is horrible for her family to have to deal with, to have to make the decision to take her off of life support, to plan her funeral, etc. Only that's not what happened. She was declared brain dead 3 months ago and is still on a ventilator and still being kept alive, not because her family said, we want to keep her alive, but because she's pregnant. And she lives in Georgia, and there's a heartbeat law, an anti-abortion heartbeat law that makes it so they cannot take her off of life support. Adriana Smith is essentially being kept alive as an incubator. And her family says it's not like they automatically would have just pulled the plug. They wanted to weigh the options, to talk to medical professionals, to make a decision. But something doctors can't tell them is if this baby is even viable. If what happened to her affected the child. Is the child blind? Will the child be able to walk? None of that has been discussed. No one can confirm that. And none of these options have been given to her family. They're just like, nope, we're keeping her alive. And oh yeah, by the way, every day she's in the hospital on life support, she's running up a bill that they're going to have to pay for. Her mother said, every day I go and visit my daughter and I watch a machine make her chest rise and fall knowing she's not there. She's gone. My daughter is gone. And if you're a spiritual person and believe in the idea of a soul, that our bodies are simply vessels, she's trapped inside of hers, not allowed to move on because of a law that's supposed to protect life, a life that they don't even know would be viable. And her family now has to raise her child that currently is here in the world, a little boy who every day thinks his mother's just sleeping and can't have closure, as well as possibly another child that may have a ton of medical issues on top of the medical bills that are being run up by the fact that she's being kept on life support without anybody making that decision. And this image becomes frighteningly accurate. She has been stripped of her autonomy even in death. And the people who are best equipped to know what she would actually want, and certainly the people who are left holding the bag, the consequences of the decisions that are made now, her family have no say in the matter. This is not freedom. This is a dystopian nightmare, and it sets a dangerous legal precedent moving forward.
Yes, the good old racist lie of 13% of the population but commit blank percentage of the crimes. This week it's 85%, last week it was 65%, 70, 60, 55. Which is it? Because they can't all be true at once. Which just goes to show that y'all will pull out anything out of your asses to justify your racism. 2, you don't know how to read stats, and you don't understand the information that you're reading. But since y'all love talking about stats, let's talk about the actual stats. White people make 16% of the global population, which makes white people the global minority. They make 16% of the population but commit most of the largest and deadliest crimes against humanity in history. White people colonized 90% of the world. Tens of millions of indigenous peoples were murdered throughout the Americas. Over 12 million Africans were kidnapped and trafficked during the transatlantic slave trade, and millions died before boarding on the ships and afterwards during slavery. Then there was King Leopold II, who killed 10 to 15 million Congolese people during his reign. During the Holocaust, over 12 million people were killed. Over 100 million people were killed during World War I and World War II. Then there's the Christian Crusades and Inquisitions. Then there's the British imperial famines. Over 3 million people were killed in Bengal. Then there's the CIA coups and imperialism. And then there's Israel's genocide of Palestinians. So when you say return to my greatness, what greatness is that exactly? The greatness in me comes from my indigenous ancestors. The ones who built entire civilizations, didn't colonize them, actually built them on their own, farmed sustainably, tracked the stars, and did all of that long before Europeans even learned how to bathe. So no, I don't have white guilt. I carry the memories and the rage of my ancestors.
What, you fat black bitch? What the fuck you gonna do? That's what I thought. Get the car, you little skinny dick ass black man.
Yeah, alright.
What? He's got a little tiny black thing in his hand. Oh my god, he's used to it.
In the United States of America right now, please be careful, especially women of color, young women of color. Educate yourself. Know that people are impersonating ICE agents because of this Trump administration, cruelty being the point type of mentality. People are impersonating ICE agents for the sole purpose of kidnapping, detaining, SAing, doing whatever the hell they want with these people. It's scary out there now. There is over 5 cases, at least so far, in the less than 120 days of this operation, of this administration, of this stuff happening. This happened once under the Biden administration that I can find, and that person was arrested for his actions. This is disgusting. This is a byproduct of cruelty being the point with the Trump administration and with these ICE agents. The public doesn't even know whether to intervene or not. Some of this shit is happening in broad daylight in front of the general public, and the public is too afraid to intervene because they think that they're being detained lawfully, and they're not. So when you see an ICE agent, or when you see a situation that appears to be an ICE agent, make them identify themselves or piss off. And if they want to know why, this is why. If they're not identifying themselves, later. Sorry, not sorry. This is America now. Like and follow for more.
Here's a list of everything that the white South African refugees will be receiving from our government for free, funded by our taxpayer dollars. They will be receiving housing, basic home furnishings, essential household items, groceries, clothing, hygiene products, and prepaid phones. They will also be enrolled in public assistance programs, such as Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or TANF, Supplemental Security Income for Cash Assistance, SSI, Medicaid for health insurance, and Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as SNAP. They will also be receiving job placements, English language training, and expedited pathway to citizenship. This comes after claims made by Donald Trump that white people are facing a genocide in South Africa, despite it being denied by South Africa's political leaders, including those who represent the white community. In February, a white South African judge dismissed the idea of a genocide as clearly imagined and not real. Keep in mind that Donald Trump ended the refugee program for everybody but these white South Africaners, proving that it's not a problem with immigrants. It's the color of those immigrants.
All right, rant of the day. These South Africaners that are coming in, I think 49 came in the other day. They are part of the little apartheid movement that collapsed in 1994. There's no targeted killing. There's no targeted genocide. South African government has strictly denied it. They are strictly saying, you're going off misinformation. You're going off of information from Elon. You're going off of information that is racist. Like, it's racist. The fact that you are terrorizing people in this country now that have lived here their whole life, that story about that 19-year-old that made a wrong turn, it's truly disgusting. All the while you're trying to end habeas corpus, end due process, all this shit. Fuck this administration. Fuck this racist bullshit. It is unfathomable that they're bringing in fucking white racists now. We are importing racism. We already have enough.
Good morning, peeps. How y'all doing? Today is Thursday, May 15th, 2025. So, it finally happened. Yesterday, I saw a post on my political account of a progressive content creator. I didn't notice what state he was in, but he said he was paid a visit by a couple of men who turned out to be from the Secret Service about some TikTok videos he made that had some negative things to say about the Orange Monster. And they asked him if he wished him any harm or was thinking about doing anything violent, towards the president. And he said, no, whatever. And they left, but they said, you better take those down. So I knew that this was going to happen. So, of course, first they're coming after the undocumented immigrants, then they're coming after brown people and probably soon black people. And now they're going to come after everybody who talks ill on social media about the Orange Monster. Great. I'm just wondering, are they going to come after all of us? Are they going to arrest all of us? I don't think they have the resources for that. And how are they going to decide which ones to go after? I talk a lot of smack about the guy and this regime, but I'm just a pissant content creator. I barely have like 1,600 followers right now. My earlier accounts had a lot more. I would probably have 15, 20,000 right now if they didn't keep deleting my accounts for certain things that I said. Of course, they were negative things about this regime, of course. But what's the end game here? How much longer are we, the American people, going to put up with this shit? I just don't understand. People, even the people on the right, the ones that have been Republicans their whole lives should know better than to, just bow down to this shit. Even if you're a racist motherfucker, you know, this shit will not stand. And if they're successful in getting rid of habeas corpus, all bets are off, man. They could come after anybody for anything. And if you're a Second Amendment enthusiast and you don't think that the Orange Monster is not going to come after your pew-pews eventually, you got another thing coming. And if the cops are coming to arrest you or basically kidnap you and you have no due process, they can just, you know, do anything they want to you, make you disappear, send you off to a concentration camp in another country. And at that point, if they won't, you know, give us due process, why should we care about the rule of law? If anybody comes after you, fight for your life. If you have a pew-pew, use it. As if it, you know, these people are basically kidnappers, and just, you know, stand your ground. And I notice, you know, a lot of these ICE agents and stuff, these thugs won't, you know, do these raids in certain red states that have strong stand your ground laws. Why? Because they're afraid somebody with a second A, you know, deal is going to fight back. So, whatever. It's fucked up, man. Meanwhile, I got to go do my job, live my life. So, think about it. Have a good day,
I live in a red state, and let me just say that if I'm being used as an incubator and my family no longer gets to make the decisions, this is my public service announcement for a mob to storm the hospital and rip my body from those machines and throw it on the steps of Congress. We're not even human to them. We're not even human, right? We're just vectors to create able-bodied workers to help fund their genocides and their yachts and their mansions. This has nothing to do with babies and being pro-life, and it is all about control.
My name is Chase Slinko Looper, and I'm the founder of West Virginia Fights Back. Woo! And let me say this loud enough for even the cowards hiding behind hoods and flags to hear. You are not safe anymore, not in these hollers, not in these churches, not in your compounds, not in this country you keep trying to claim. For too long, you walked like you owned the land, puffed your chest with lies and blood, and the ghost stories that you so-called heritage, cross-burning, robes dragging, Bibles twisted into weapons, but you forgot something crucial. Time moves forward, and history never forgets who lit the match. This country trained a lot of us to follow orders. Then it betrayed us. Some of us woke up. Some of us learned what real loyalty looks like. Loyalty to the people you tried to crush. You think we're soft because we care? You think compassion is weakness? That fighting for the poor, the queer, the black, the immigrant, the disabled makes us easy prey? That is your mistake. Yes. And it's one you will regret. We are not weak. We are wide awake. And we are everywhere. You thought slipping Trump back into office gave you cover? You thought dressing fascism in a flag and a suit would shield you from the consequences? But your moment of comfort was brief. That silence you are hearing now, that's not surrender. It's coordination. Woo! From 2016 onward, hate crimes rose by more than 40%. That wasn't a glitch, that was your war cry. But you weren't the only one listening. We have a message too. It's not delivered through tweets or polite debates. It spreads in the streets, the unions, the forests, the schools, the kitchens, the community halls, and it's gaining ground. You still call it heritage, we call it rot, and rot gets cleared. Ida B. Wells once said, the way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them. So here's your light, bright and unforgiving. You scurry like roaches, but the walls are closing in. We've done this before in 1921 on these very mountains. 10,000 coal miners, black, white, immigrant, stood together and rose against the machine. They didn't wait for permission. They fought side by side for something bigger than fear. If they could fight back then, we can sure as hell fight now. Each time you spread your poison, Each time you whisper hate in the corners of our communities, you remind us why we organize harder. You make yourselves the reason we grow stronger. You want to show up in our hollers? Try it. Just don't expect those roads to be easy coming back. You might not find it at all. We're not our grandparents. We don't look the other way. We sure as hell don't forget. No more pretending that you're patriots. You're not misunderstood. You're not rebels. You're domestic terrorists. And we've learned too well what it looks like. We see you, and you are not the future. Woo! This movement is rising from rage, grief, hunger, and an unshakable love for those you've tried to erase. That love will outlast you. That love will undo everything you built from fear. Woo! So meet, march, plot, chant your little circles, make your maps, print your flyers, light your torches if you must. But understand this, the hills are watching, and they're not watching alone. We don't need a military, we are millions. We don't need uniforms, we wear scars and resolve. We don't wait for justice, we carry it with us. You cannot kill a movement born from fire. We've got nothing left to lose but our chains. So brace yourselves. The reckoning does not knock, it kicks in the door. Thank you.
KKK, you're on notice. Game over.
So there's been an uptick of videos on my For You page that are the flashback scenes of Handmaid's Tale. And if you've never watched the show, Handmaid's Tale is like a white nationalist takeover to Christian values. Women are enslaved, and everything is terrible. And it flashes back to how life was before and the slow erosion of their world and rights happening right in front of them. And they just didn't do enough in time at all. And yesterday I went to a networking group. I'm a member of a diversity nonprofit, and I don't even want to say the name of it. And everybody there was talking about how their roles are changing. They're being reorged into other departments. They are changing the name of their jobs. We even talked yesterday about changing the name of the organization that we are members of, because the trickle-down effect from these federal changes in the government that want nothing to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion, the witch hunt that is happening trickles down to the private sector, because a lot of these private sector companies rely on federal aid in one way or another, whether it's grants or being a benefactor of lobbying. Like, it is so interconnected. And I looked at someone who's saying, you know, we might change my position to this. I might roll up under finance now. And we're just trying to figure out what to call our work efforts. And I said, I can't believe that we're even having this conversation. And she said, we're already there. We are already there. And she didn't have to say much more than that, because I knew exactly what she meant. We missed the exit to do something substantial about this, I fear. I truly fear, like so deeply. And I'm so worried about the normalcy bias that is happening. And at the same time, I feel like an alarmist and also have no clue what to actually do. Like, there is no better allegory. My phone's dying. There's no better allegory for how little we're doing than Democrats trying to get into the Department of Education. The only thing stopping them was like one dude standing there. They're like, let us in. He's like, no. And they're like, oh, man. That's the extent of our efforts. And I know there have been small wins, and I know a lot of what has been proposed has been quickly struck down, but the momentum is there. The momentum is there. And in one scene in Handmaid's Tale, after the women just find out that they're not allowed to work anymore and they don't have access to their bank accounts and they can't own property, they're like, what? That's crazy. What should we do? We're organizing a march. You're organizing a march? They're drinking wine and they're still making jokes, having no clue what is literally right in front of them. And then people get killed at that march because Gilead is already taken over, because there's no opposition anymore from the American government, because they are now a Gilead. So I don't know. I literally don't know what to do. And I'm sorry that I can't give any kind of like hope in this video. But like, we are sliding into that. We're sliding into that reality. I mean, why does Elon Musk, why did he need access to the Treasury Department? Why does he potentially have a file in there that gives him all of my information about where I've worked, how much money I make, how many kids I have, the property I own? Why does he need that? Why did he need it? What are we going to do?
I really don't think that it's black fatigue. I think that it's ghetto fatigue, ignorance fatigue, hood fatigue. You've seen them. Bonnets and PJs, pants half off their arse, and they bring with them a certain demeanor.
We have mediocre white men fatigue, where we watch a group of talentless Nepo babies who never worked for anything in their mediocre white lives, 34-time felon, 6-time bankrupt, unqualified rapist, drive our once thriving country into shithole status in record time. We have white anti-intellectualism fatigue. You guys burn books because you can't read them. We have white fragility fatigue because the supreme majority is so weak. You feel extremely threatened by 15% of the population simply existing. We have Karen fatigue, where the weakest group of females bully 5-year-olds because you never develop mentally and emotionally past the age of 5, and it shows. Even though you designed an entire system for your success cradle to grave, you've succeeded at nothing but oppression. You have no art that you didn't steal, no culture you didn't appropriate, and no identity that isn't borrowed. And that's why you try so hard to separate yourselves from your own legacy. This is not just fatigue. This is generational, ancestral burnout from being held hostage by your mediocrity. And we're done pretending it's anything but exactly that.
You know what? I'm going to use the hashtag Black Fatigue so that the whites making that content see this video. Black fatigue already has a meaning, and it's not the one that you think it is. Black fatigue means the emotional toll, the exhaustion inherent in living under systemic racism and having to deal with that shit day in and day out and live in a society and a culture that is, the deck is stacked against you and the rules are made to discriminate against you and make your fucking life harder. That is what that phrase means. You are co-opting that phrase and making it into something fucking... Just say what you fucking mean. All the people who really genuinely seem to believe that their First Amendment rights include the right to avoid any kind of social consequences for the things that they say and get so fucking butthurt about their fucking free speech. Let me tell you, they understand. They understand that they are going to have social consequences from the shit that they say. Some of them do anyway, which is why they co-opt phrases like black fatigue. This is like when a narcissist goes to therapy and learns all of the therapy language so that they can then go out and try to gaslight and abuse all of the people in their lives. If you don't like black people and you're tired of hearing about black people and hearing from black people and having black people around you or in your face or in your culture, just say that. You're using a phrase like black fatigue to try to make what you're saying sound like it is some sort of intellectual discourse that we're having. This is not intellectual discourse. This is you're a racist and a bigot. Just be a racist and a bigot. Oh, what? Are you afraid of the social consequences of that behavior? Gasp. Let me clutch my pearls.
Have you guys heard of the Knights of the Golden Circle? So, I was approached today at the grocery store. This guy said, he complimented me on my veterans hat. Not this hat, of course. And he said, we're going to have our run of this country again. And I was like, oh, yeah? What do you mean? He's like, we're going to have control of this country again. We have our people in the White House. Everything's getting lined up. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, look up Knights of the Golden Circle. Never heard of it. Very interested. So as soon as I got home or actually in the car. I looked on my phone, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. What's going on with our border, the Panama Canal? He mentioned it was in Project 2025. It's all lining up, folks. Let me know your thoughts. Is this what we're really headed towards? Bringing in more white racists, kicking out the brown people, a game show involving immigrants and the citizenship, militarizing our border. This is wow.
This morning, there was a protest at the same stadium where the incident occurred between Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. It was white Americans protesting the violence of Black Americans on white Americans. And it was organized by Jake Lang, who was one of the pardoned January 6ers. And what's very, very interesting is actually that Austin Metcalf's dad and the organizer ended up like getting into a really, really heated argument because he's like, hey, like what you guys are doing isn't helping anybody. Like it's just making shit worse, you know?
Fight.
Hey Jeff, it's Jake Lang here.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
Jeff, first of all, my entire heart rests in your hands. I would be in my position, not even as somebody even knew your son, but somebody that shares the same understanding. I grew up as a 17-year-old young white man too, and I grew up in fear of my life around black people because they were killing and robbing people around me all the time. And I don't understand, as I was a father, you could sit idly by and not condemn the culture that killed your son. There is an epidemic problem in this country, and your voice could be one of the loudest voices in this country, but you've chosen to recoil out of fear and continue the suppression. Why will you not stand with me and with the rest of the people? We're not calling for racial divide. We're not calling for hatred. We're saying 350,000 attacks on white people by black people a year in this country is wrong. Why can't you stand that and say with that? Maybe you can. Would you be willing to stand by me in a press conference or in an individual interview and talk about this issue that is larger than Austin at this point? God rest the beautiful young man's soul that would have been one of our strongest voices if he was still alive today.
Are you done?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, my turn to speak. You are part of the problem, my friend. You're trying to create more race divide than bridging the gap. I do not condone anything you do. You do not have any...
That's called white guilt.
No, let it talk. But my son, let me finish. I give you your time. You take my son's face off your website. I am not associated with you.
You're creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness, sir. You are creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness.
In history, this is the shit.
I wanted to show you guys the website that like hosted the details for the protest this morning.
He's a downright robber, and inviting him to the Middle East was a colossal mistake. We thought he'd come to negotiate cooperation, but all he wanted was to make deals without putting up a single cent of capital. And to think I gifted him $400 million, Boeing 747-8 jet. We welcomed him with the grandest of courtesies, yet even the camels of the desert have more dignity than this man. He talks of historic partnerships with his lips, but his greedy eyes are fixed solely on our natural gas reserves and bank accounts. The first thing he did was demand we invest in his tacky hotel sand. Then he had the audacity to hint that refusing would mean reconsidering the U.S. military bases. By God, since when is this diplomacy? He's worse than a bizarre vendor haggling over prices. At least they offer goods in exchange. Now I see his so-called art of the deal is just sleight of hand to take what he wants for nothing. May Allah guide the American people to elect someone who at least knows the meaning of shame next time.
The America I love, the America I've written about, that has been a beacon of hope and liberty for 250 years, is currently in the hands of a corrupt, incompetent, and treasonous administration. Tonight, we ask all who believe in democracy and the best of our American experience to rise with us, raise your voices against authoritarianism and let freedom reign. This is land of hope and dreams.
The United States just threatened Bruce Springsteen. I was already planning on doing a video about Bruce Springsteen, which I will get to in a moment, but please let us first address this. He said, among other things, that Springsteen ought to keep his mouth shut until he gets back into the country. That's just standard fare, no clue what that is. Then we'll all see how it goes for him. He also had the audacity to insult Bruce Springsteen's looks. That man is aging like fine wine, and you fucking Nazi, are aging like a toddler's shit-filled diaper that's been left out in the sun for a week. Please get a goddamn grip. This is what I was originally going to make the video about. Bruce Springsteen is touring overseas, and he had a lot to say about Donald Trump and our current regime here in the United States, including calling him treasonous and incompetent. No lies detected. He didn't call him a fascist piece of shit, which he honestly could have. In the comments sections on videos showing Bruce talking about this in his concert, I have seen several people say, now I'm going to be a Bruce Springsteen fan, and like commenting on how great it is that he said this. And I just feel like there might be a whole generation of people who don't know that Bruce Springsteen has been locked in since day one. I love Bruce Springsteen. I could defend several thesis level dissertations about this man, his music. But for right now, I just want to talk about how Bruce Springsteen is a fucking real one. If you don't know, in February of 1999, a 23-year-old student in New York City named Amadou Diallo was standing, I believe it was like the middle of the night, and he's standing outside of his apartment building. 4 New York City cops in plain clothes decide that he looks like a suspected serial rapist. Now he's just standing in front of his apartment building. They're driving around in an unmarked car, not wearing their uniforms. They stop and they tell him at some point to put his hands up. He reaches into his pocket to get his wallet out. They open fire on him. Amadou Diallo was just reaching for his wallet. He had no weapons on him. One of the cops, the first cop who shot, the kickback from the shot that he fired threw him backwards, so the other 3 cops decided that he must have been shot, and so they just unleash on this innocent young black man. They fired a total of 41 shots. He was hit 19 times. A witness said they continued to fire even when he was down on the ground, not moving. In June of 2000, Bruce and the E Street Band are playing in Georgia, I believe, and he debuts a song called American Skin, 41 Shots, and it is in direct response to what happened to Amadou Diallo. It's their last night performing in Georgia before they head to New York City for a series of 10 concerts at Madison Square Garden. He plays this song, and all hell breaks loose. The New York City Police Commissioner, the New York City Mayor, who was Giuliani at the time, the head of the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, they all tell him not to play the song when he's in New York City. And the head of the Fraternal Order of Police not only tells him not to play the song, he calls Bruce, quote, a dirtbag, and also a homophobic slur that starts with the letter F. This is the year 2000. This guy said this publicly with his whole fucking chest. Some cops refused to work that night at MSG or provide any kind of security. They were so fucking butthurt. Bruce comes in, he does the 10 shows at Madison Square Garden, he plays the song throughout the 10 shows. Over the years, he has repeatedly said that the song is not anti-police, it's anti-brutality. If you're a cop and you're offended that someone would sing against brutality, then you really need to look inside yourself. If anti-brutality to you is anti-cop, you need to check in with your fucking soul. Usually the people who are against the song, like, clearly have not listened to it, which is a running theme with him. I have heard so many people say, oh, I love Bruce Springsteen, I just don't like his political stuff. I beg your stupidest pardon. Almost every song of Bruce's is political. Life is political. Us trying to live in this fucking country is political. That's what he sings and writes about. So many people play Born in the USA on the 4th of July like it's this huge fucking patriotic song, and in a way it is, because if you love America and insist on America being a better place and doing better and living up to its quote-unquote ideals, then it's a very patriotic song. But it's not patriotic in the way that a lot of people play it. I have heard so many fucking right-wing Republicans, when they find out what it's about, they are shocked and offended. Anyway, the whole point of this is just to let people know, if you are not a fan of Bruce's, please dive into his catalog. Please know that he has been singing about injustice and about the ways in which America fails all of us. He's been doing this from day one. Trump is so fucking insecure. He knows he could never measure up. Never. Trump can't even come close, and he fucking knows it. I hate this Nazi regime that we're living under in America. And I'm so proud that Bruce Springsteen continues to show up and speak out.
Donald Trump, and I said something about Donald Trump. You know what the lady told me? He's the best president of the United States. I says, well, let me tell you something. He fucks everybody. He shits his pants. He robs us. He owes all kinds of taxes. My poor son won $5,000, and they're taking money out of his check. But he can sit right there. Everybody that worked for him is in jail. Where's Trump sitting? In his shitty Pampers. And now you want him as president of the United States again. And be a dictator, which he wants to be a dictator. He's a dick, all right.
I'm going to say one thing. Fuck Trump. It's no longer down with Trump, it's fuck Trump.